You think that you're the one choosing to stay. You think that you are the one making a decision to hold on, to try harder, to fight for the love you believed in. But what if I told you that that wasn't staying at all and that it wasn't really your choice at all? What if I told you that he's slowly been training you, like a dog, for a long period of time to keep coming back and to stay in the toxic relationship from the very beginning? That's what we're going to talk about today, because that's exactly what's happening. The guy in your life, he's doing this. Your husband, he's not just manipulating you. He's been conditioning you for a long period of time. He's been slowly working on implanting and placing these small hooks in you to make sure that you can't leave, to make sure that you don't find freedom, to make sure that you don't actually get away from him. And he did this in a couple ways. First, he made you feel like you were the most incredible person on the planet, putting you up on the pedestal that we've talked about before. And in doing this, he might have put some effort into it. He might have studied you, figured out what made you feel loved, but also found your deepest wounds, found your greatest desires, and then found a way to be able to mirror them back to you, make you think and feel like he was very similar, or that you were emotional towards him about those. Not because he became the perfect man, because he's not, but because he knew that if he played his cards right, and if he played his role well enough, you would attach to him fast. That's why a narcissist mirrors. That's why they project. That's why they send stuff back to you. So you're like, oh my gosh, he needed you to be hooked, like a fish stuck. You couldn't get off. He knew that was the best way to do everything. That it wasn't just to make you fall in love. It was to make you feel seen in a way that you'd never seen before. Make you feel like someone valued you and cared about you more than anybody in the world. That's why the love is like, oh my gosh, I've never found anything like this. But then it changed. Like the moment he knew that you were invested, the moment you moved in, the moment you had a baby together, like all these moments that happen, all of a sudden it switches. And suddenly the man who once adored you started to pull away. Could have been slow, could have been quick. The compliments turned from compliments into criticisms. The affection turned into distance, pulling you apart. And instead of feeling safe with him, you started working for safety. Trying to find it, trying to understand, what do I have to do to be safe? What do I have to do to connect? What do I have to do? And that's where the training starts. Where he starts training you and he starts to begin this process of making sure that you are trained to be hooked. You are trained to come back. And oftentimes it's through reward and through punishment. And the cycle that happens in between these. Because the key inside of here is keeping you locked into this toxic cycle. This back and forth, this ups and downs. The fancy word for it is called intermittent reinforcement. And inside of this, he knows that if he gave you nothing but pain, you'd get fed up and you'd finally leave. So instead, he goes back and forth. He gives you just enough love and just enough affection so that you feel a little bit better. Just enough hope of like, okay, I'm gonna give it another day. I'm gonna give it another week. I'm gonna give it another month. Just enough, just hanging by a thread just to keep hanging on. And then the next day, he's cold. He's distant, he's ignoring your needs, and he's making you feel like you're completely invisible. And then you're left like scratching your head like, oh, what's going on? Because the next day it's back. He's the man you fell in love with again, the guy that you adore, and he's telling you how much he loves you, how he couldn't live life without you, and he's saying all of these things. You're like, oh, yes, finally, he gets it. He sees me, and then it's back to the other side. And you think, this is it. This is the real him. I finally got him. I just have to hold on a little bit longer and maybe he'll come back. Maybe he'll stay. Maybe he'll be the guy that I actually want, the guy that's actually here. And then what? Flip. Flips the script. Switches it all around, goes from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde, switches it back, and the cycle continues over and over and over again. And over time, you get to the place where you get tired of questioning. You get tired and you stop questioning whether you deserve love, and you just stop asking, even if his behavior is okay, if it's acceptable. Instead, you start chasing and tolerating the highs and the lows, hoping that the high comes and then enduring the lows, because he's trained you to believe that the lows are just the price you have to pay. It's not that big of a deal. You just have to get through it. And once you get through it, it'll be okay, because you'll find the love on the other side of the pit of all this despair. And so you keep holding on, going through these highs, going through these lows, thinking it'll be okay, it's not that bad, and then keeping going, and it puts you in this place that it feels absolutely impossible to leave. You feel stuck completely. If you ever ask yourself, why can't I just leave? This is why. It's not about love. It's not about him caring for you. It's not because you care for him. It's about psychological conditioning. You've been trained. Your brain has been rewired to associate the pain with passion, the chaos with connection, his approval with your worth. It's all a psychological piece here that he made himself the center of your emotional world. He brought you in as like, look at me, stay with me. And the thought of leaving, it seems not just scary, it seems impossible. It seems unbearable. You're like, who would I be if I left? What would I do? Who would love me? How? Because leaving him doesn't just mean losing him. It means losing the version of yourself that was built around him. And that's terrifying. The process of you losing yourself is terrifying on one side, and on the other side, we call it transformation. The reason why we call it transformation is because the version of you right now has to die. Not physically, but mentally and emotionally, you are on a journey up a mountain, and you're carrying a lot of weight and a lot of baggage. And in order for you to actually be free of this guy, in order for you to actually be free and actually find who you are, you have to let go of a lot of things. You have to let go of different traumas, of different stories, of different ideas, different beliefs, different things that are holding you hostage, that are holding you back. And that's what we call transformation. That the version of you that's holding on these weights has to let go, has to give up. That version has to die so a different version of you can rise from the ashes. Because you have to understand, he's never going to stop playing this game. He's never going to stop. But you can stop playing the game with him. Stop thinking you're going to beat him. Stop thinking you're going to figure it out. Stop thinking you're going to change him. Like, all you have to understand is like, you have to see it for what it actually is. You have to recognize what is going on. The love that I'm fighting for, it's a trap. It's a cycle. It's designed to keep you stuck. To keep you doubting yourself. To keep you wondering, what do I actually do? To keep you just simply confused. To keep you from realizing that you were never actually the problem. All it is smoke and mirrors, confusion of like, how do I make sure that she doesn't realize, doesn't see, keeps you stuck? And you need to get to a place where you detox from this emotional addiction. You detox from what he's actually created, what he actually has implanted, what he's actually trained you to do. This might mean you have to get to the place that you cut off contact. You don't interact with him. Maybe you cut off contact completely. Maybe you do it as much as possible because you have kids. Maybe it starts you actually working on you, which means we have to rebuild your identity outside of him. Understand, who am I without this guy? Understand that the pain of leaving is temporary. It'll feel like an addiction and it'll feel like withdrawals. But staying is going to leave you destroyed completely. It's going to shatter you once and for all. The thing I want you to understand is like, if you don't make a decision, where are you going to be? Like, if you don't make a decision for you, what is your life going to look like? If you don't make a decision of how you can grow, change, and develop your life, if nothing changes, and everything stays the same, the dead-end road that you've been running, the cycle that you've been in will continue happening forever. And here I want you to understand you don't have to do it alone. Inside of what I do, I created a community. Other women just like you that show up in a real and a raw and honest way so that you can actually identify and connect with women that are going to hold you accountable, but also show you there's a path and there's a plan. Because I know it's extremely difficult to walk away. Your entire world has been built around him. It's been built around his validation. It's been built around his words, but never his actions. You need a system that's actually going to help you be free. You need tools to be able to process the emotions, to rewire the mindset, the thinking that he's trained you for such a long period of time to stay stuck. And in order to break free from these psychological chains, the things that are wrapped around you, there has to be a rewiring process. We teach this inside the Freedom Formula to help you see and change the story that you're believing. If you're at that point today where you're ready to take a step, if you're ready to finally see yourself as a whole, as worthy, as enough with Him, then it's time to actually act. It's time for you to actually take the next step.
You've been told it's all your fault and that makes you feel crazy. No one understands you and that leaves you in a place of being alone. You've tried to break free multiple times and that leaves you helpless because nothing you've done has actually worked. It hasn't actually got you free or liberated from this toxic relationship. So you feel crazy, alone, and hopeless. Guess what? That's a lie. Because all it is how you've been raised and conditioned inside of this abusive relationship over and over. And as a result, you've sacrificed your growth, you've sacrificed your worth, and you've been trapped inside of a toxic relationship. What if I showed you the path to freedom? A way for you to actually get free mentally and emotionally from the toxicity that's happening right here, right now. You deserve more. You deserve to be able to heal. And I want to help you with that. If I can help you with that, go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough, schedule a call there, and let's talk.
I want to invite you to go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. It's an opportunity to see a video from myself and my wife and other clients that are there. This is when you start taking your power back by simple, small decisions of you saying yes to you, of who you are, of your worth and your value. The guy in your life, he spent years training you to stay. Now it's time to unlearn everything that he's taught you, everything that he's trained you, and finally step into a place of freedom. Finally step into a place that you can actually be known and understood who you are. Because right now that version of you has kind of disappeared. The version of you don't really see. That's a version of you don't really know because of everything he's done to you. So if you're at this point and you're saying, hey, I see myself inside of this video, and don't wait any longer. Go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Click on the application, fill out the call, and let's jump on a call and talk. Your freedom starts today.